Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA, where we're joined by Dr. Dan Geller, who's been with us before. He's in behavioral finance. I want to talk about the economic teeter-totter this morning, and welcome back to the show, Dr. Geller. Great to have you back on.
Thank you, Gary. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. A lot of people have forgotten about teeter-totters when they get to my age. I don't get on those too much anymore. But when it comes to the economy, we certainly kind of understand, I think, the teeter-totter kind of comparison. And yet at the same time, we're not quite sure where it stands. A lot of people are telling us that our economy is healthy right now. Other people are saying out here on Main Street where we live that it doesn't feel like that. So talk to us a little bit about what's going on right now with the economy and this whole teeter-totter idea.
Yes, so basically the idea of teeter-totter is to simplify the whole concept of what's happening with the economy so that we can picture it in our mind without going through all kinds of economic indicator numbers in our head.
Right.
So it's very simple. A healthy economy, if you think about teeter-totter, a healthy economy is when consumer spending is on the higher seat and consumer savings is on the lower seat. That's the bottom line. If consumer spending is greater than savings, it's a healthy economy. Why? Because there is more money circulating and stimulating the economy.
Now, a lot of people would sit there and listen to that and say, well, gee, shouldn't we be saving money, though, too? I mean, so where does that balance come in? Because there are a lot of people sitting out there right now who are sitting there going, man, okay, well, I'm trying to save for my retirement. We're living a lot longer than we used to. And so my savings is probably going to take up a greater part than maybe it did, 30 or 40 years ago when people were living to be 60, 65, and so forth. So where does that kind of figure into that whole process?
Okay, so two things. Yes, savings is good. Saving is smart, but too much of a good thing is not so good. So, yes, savings for retirement or for rainy day or for any other purpose is a good idea. But when we do it too much, then we're starting to hurt the other side of the teeter-totter, which is the consumer spending. Now, here is the thing. Savings, we start hurting ourselves by spending too much, because when the economy is not doing well, our savings are not doing as well as they could in a good economy.
Right.
So at some point, there should be kind of not a balance, but actually kind of when spending should be higher than savings. That's what this was the economy before the recession. As I put in the analysis, we were at $9.7 trillion in spending versus $6.7 trillion in savings. Now we are at an even keel at about $11 trillion on each side, so the teeter-totter is flat. That's not good. It's better than the other way around, but it's not where it's supposed to be.
So thus you have people sitting there not feeling terribly comfortable about where we're at, correct?
That's exactly the point.
Now, so when you look at, I'm always intrigued by this stuff, and I hope people out there look at this as kind of an economics lesson, although I know in school, when you're in school, you say, oh, the economy, oh, my God, take a nap. but no, I think it's fascinating, and what's fascinating about it now is I didn't have a whole lot of money when I used to be in school. I got a little bit more now that I worry about, and so I sit back as a consumer and say, okay, where are we going here? So you said if the spending side starts going down, thus lifting the savings side, then we're on the verge of a recession. How realistic do you think that is here in the long run?
And not highly probable at this point. We are okay. We are not doing great, but we are okay compared, of course, relative to other in industrial economies like in Europe and South America. But
right.
We are not where we could be. In other words, we still have a way to go, but we are not close to any recession. Our GDP probably will finish the fourth quarter anywhere between, 2.5%, 3%, and for the year will be more or less the same. So it's okay, but it's not great.
We're talking with Dr. Dan Geller this morning, who's an economist, behavioral finance. Something interesting about this. We talk about the idea of confidence, and when you talk about the idea of getting better, is there anything right now? We've looked at past recessions. I think there have been 5 that I've been looking at a lot, and all of them were really kind of jump-started. I mean, you looked at when the recession started to move there, they went big. This one, the recovery has not been big, and it's been talked about ad nauseum, and I'm sure you've been in a lot of those conversations yourself. So the point is, what is different about this one than about the other ones? Is there something that could be done right now? Is there something that's not being done right now that could help this to be the same as the other ones if those things were allowed to either be put into place or stand in the way and let the forces of nature kind of happen?
Okay, that's a very good observation. You're right. Typically, a recession, we define it as a V-shaped recession. We go down fast, we come up fast, like a V-shape. Sometimes we come across what we call a U-shaped recession, where we stay at the bottom longer than usual, but still we come out fast. This recession is almost like an L recession. We came down fast, and we are still kind of plugging along at the bottom. We are improving, but not as much as in previous recessions. Why? Well, yes, it all boils down with consumer financial confidence, anxiety. Just the other week, I heard an interview. Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, was interviewed, and the interviewer was asking him what's wrong with the economy, and he said explicitly, we have an economic anxiety. And one of the causes is, I think, that the panic after the financial crisis pushed us, meaning the legislators and the administrative branch, so much to the other side that I think we overdid it in some areas. And one of those areas is regulations. The other area is basically all the regulations and restrictions on banking. And just as the problem now in Europe, Europe just went through a stress test, and one of the findings is that the banking in Europe are not lending enough to consumers, not to businesses. They lend to businesses, but it's very weak on the consumer side, and it doesn't do any good to Europe, because even if a business has the capital to produce goods, but consumers don't have the money or can't borrow the money to buy the goods, it doesn't do any good. So these are some of the problems that we have here.
What strikes me as you're talking is one of the things that we hear an awful lot about. Again, we're talking to Dr. Dan Geller, is the idea that the millennials, this was their introduction more or less to our economy. Coming out of college and stepping in and so forth, and that many of them. They're hesitant to save. They're hesitant to spend. They don't have much to save because in most cases they got a lot of college debt built up. We've got older people who are working a lot longer now rather than retire. Many of them have seen their savings go down the tubes during the recession, or at least be damaged significantly. And so when you look at these two large blocks of people in this country, and then many in the so-called middle area there, whatever that is, the baby boomers, I guess, you're looking at them and you're saying, wow, well, they're heading for the exits and they're scared to death that maybe, they got to do some different things now as a result of the recession. So everybody has looked at this recession maybe more as a depression than as a recession. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, and you hit it right kind of on the nail, because we are getting hammered from all sides. So you're absolutely right. If we look at the entire population and break them into, the millennials, and then kind of the early or the late stage baby boomers, and then the early stage baby boomers who are retiring. So here is the problem. The millennials are stuck with student loans, and the average amount of debt of someone who graduates from college is about $28,000.
Wow.
So, yes.
What a way to start your working career, right?
Precisely. And that's the average. Those who go to medical school and other long programs, it could be $500,000. So, yes, you start your life minus about $30,000. Here goes your down payment.
Yep.
This money could have been used for a down payment, and as you know, Gary, housing is the great stimulator of the economy.
Yes,
because it has a high multiplier. You buy a house, you need insurance, you need maintenance, all that, appliances. So on the millennial side, we have a problem, a $10 trillion problem with the generation that should have entered the market now. In the middle, we have, the working segment of the population, but wages did not increase in the last 6 years.
That's right.
But inflation is eating away their buying power.
Well, the cost of living is, 3-point-something% every year, and I would dare say that raises in this country are nowhere near that percentage. In fact, even if you look at what Social Security, it's 1.7%, so that means you're minus 1.3 every time, if that's a major part of your portfolio, which for some people it is. Precisely.
And then we continue with the segment of the population that is now retirees. The good news is we live longer. The bad news is we need the money to support our longevity. And it's not simple because they now have to look for supplemental income to finance the longer golden years.
And for every one of those jobs that they're taking, again, that puts off jobs at the other end a little bit. And so we see 9.2 million people right now who could be working, not just because of that, but could be working, are sitting it out. They're sitting it out again for a variety of reasons, but the fact is 9.2 million people are not working in this population right now who could otherwise be gainfully employed.
Exactly. So no wonder there is still financial anxiety and money anxiety among people from any stage in life. There is anxiety.
Yeah, I think the country is right now, for a lot of people, they're breathing in and out of the bag very quickly to try to get rid of the anxiety. The problem is the CO2 is not coming in here for them and curing that hyperventilation. Tell us a little bit about the money anxiety index, though, because I think that's intriguing as well, and it stands right now at 68.2% in October. What does that mean? How's that measured, and what is that measured against? 68.2. What does that mean in your thoughts?
Yeah. So basically, the money anxiety index measures the level of fear and anxiety consumers have as it relates to finances and the economy.
Okay.
The index basically. If we look at the average in the last 50 years, stands at 70.7. So right now, in September and October, we are below the average for the 50 years. That's good. However, we are still relatively higher than what we were before the recession, which was in the mid-50s. So we are about 15 points on the index above the level that we were before the recession.
Okay.
And that's the key, because once we get to that level, we will see things improving. We will see more spending. Consumers will feel more confident financially, and they will spend more. And we will see, when this happens, we will see a shift of money from savings into spending.
So in other words, when the money anxiety index goes up, consumers spend less, save more, and vice versa, right?
Precisely.
We're going to take a quick break, Dr. Geller, and I want to come back, and I want you to, and I'm asking people to look into their crystal balls this morning, where we're going to go, what things need to kind of fall into place here for this money index, misery index, so to speak, to go down, the anxiety index, I won't say misery, the anxiety index to go down. We're going to ask Dr. Geller what things need to be done for that to happen, in his opinion, here on the Gary Sutton Show, when we return on News Radio 910 WSBA. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA with Dr. Dan Geller. We were talking about the whole money anxiety index, which for most of us out there is if you could reach in your pocketbook and you don't have the money you want to pay for the things you need, that could be a real money anxiety index. But Dr. Geller, look into the future now. What things need to be done for that number to go down? And again, I'm correct in saying we want that number to get back down into the 50s or less in the long run. So what needs to be done here? Maybe by the government, maybe by us, whoever.
I think there are many factors in play here, but the main thing is I think that consumers need to have some kind of confidence in the leadership, meaning to see a clear plan of how the economy is, where is it going, and how is it going to improve. We are not getting this from the top. We are not seeing a clear and precise plan for recovery.
Let me ask you this question as you're going along there, and I apologize for interrupting, but are there specific things that they're doing that's hurting this recovery right now? I guess I would ask that question.
Yes, and that's how it ties into the first part. For example, you see, this country, basically, the engine, the locomotive of the U.S. economy,
private business,
small business,
right?
It's not the big businesses; it's the small businesses, and regulations and over-regulations are really suppressing small businesses. Many of them are getting discouraged from starting a business because it's so cumbersome to deal with all the regulations and everything else that has to do with starting a business. So a relaxation of all of regulations that are suppressing small businesses will cause more businesses to start, more hiring. About 80% of the labor force in the U.S. work for small businesses.
Wow.
Yes. And a small business is defined as any business with 500 employees or less.
Right.
That's the definition of the Small Business Administration. Anyway, so that's one area to basically relax regulations, simplify taxation, and give a clear and precise plan on how businesses can flourish in this country in a simplified way. I think this will give a boost to the economy. More people will get hired, more taxation will be generated, and the level of anxiety will go down accordingly, and then things will get much better.
And get that corporate tax rate down from the 39% it's at right now, right?
Yes, this would be great. This would be very helpful. Our corporate taxes are too high, absolutely.
They're the worst in the world. I mean, I just saw the other day in a piece that was written, it said the U.S. has the highest corporate tax rate in the world right now. In fact, I was looking down at, let's see, in the industrialized, the OECD was what they were talking about here, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and we were all the way down at the bottom at 39.1%. Ireland is at the top at 12.5%. So
yep.
Was really kind of interested in all of that. Dr. Geller, it's always fascinating to talk with you. I really enjoy having you on, and thank you again for joining us. I look forward to our next time. It's very instructive. So thank you again.
Thank you, Gary. It's a pleasure.
Take care. Dr. Dan Geller, behavioral financier, who was with us here this morning, the economic teeter-totter. So we want to see that number get from a 68.2 money anxiety index right now down somewhere. It was about 53 was the number before the recession really got underway. So somewhere down in those low 50s, you would think, or maybe even high 40s, if that were possible, would be great, right? And he says people have to spend more, save a little bit less. That'll tell us that the economy is doing better. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did this morning. I remember going into economics class in school going, oh, man. But I think when it's your money, you want to know where it's going, why it's going, what's going to happen, how it could be better, and hopefully not how it can get worse, right?